The reality of being a teacher. Being a teacher had a selling point at one point. Off on holidays, off when your kids are off if you're a parent, off over the summer. You get paid while you're off. And so it seemed like a lot of free time for decent pay, especially if you're 21 to 25 fresh out of school. It's good pay. At least it was. Not in this economy. But it seemed like good pay and great benefits because you do get health benefits and you can put into retirement. And so it seems like a lot of perks. But at this point, it is definitely like too good to be true. It's not all that it's cracked up to be. And as a previous teacher, I'm here to tell y'all what's really going on with teachers if you don't know. And if you're a teacher and you just want to feel seen, hey, hang in there. And if you can, get out of there. I do believe there's a certain group of people that that's what they're put on this earth to do, and they have the grace to do that. And if that's you, power to you. You are doing the Lord's work. But for me and for some other people, we had to get out. I thought there was so much good in it. I enjoyed teaching in itself. But the things we're going to get into today is why I was like, I've had enough. By the time I left the classroom, I was in the mood of if I stay, I'll be staying for the money, and the money's not good enough nor worth the hell I was going through to stay any longer. So I prayed that I would get out of there as soon as possible. And so I only taught a little over 6 years before I transitioned into a different position, which was slightly better. But you think being out of the classroom is better? It's just different. It's a different hard. Okay. And so here are some things you may not consider if you just want to know what's it like being a teacher because you're considering it. You don't understand why teachers complain and all those other things. Because a lot of people feel like teachers should be grateful they make good money and they see us as glorified. But babysitters, I don't think y'all get it. So let me help you understand. First, no child left behind, set up for failure for everybody. I talked about this in another video. Some kids need to get left behind because they just don't learn as fast as other kids. Some kids are not ready to be promoted. And this makes teaching harder for teachers. Okay, let me picture this. This is what it's like as a teacher. Every hour or so, on average, you have a group of about 30-ish kids. It can be 25 to 35 and then sometimes 40. I've had 40 in a classroom. Because of No Child Left Behind, at that time they also removed um, kids having separate classrooms and they enforced inclusion. Inclusion also was a terrible thing. Inclusion is when all kids, regardless of learning style and disabilities, are in the same environment. It sounds like peace on earth and it sounds amazing, but here's why it's bad even if you have a kid that has special needs. One, a teacher is only one person to all those kids. And the reality is, teachers are expected to teach all 30 kids the way those kids need to be taught. Now, can you imagine in 1 hour, a teacher has one lesson, maybe two, that they have to teach all 30 kids, but every kid needs to learn this one lesson 30 different ways? Meaning, you're going to teach the class in general, but now you have to find a way to meet with each of these kids. And granted, it might not be all 30, but just assume we can go with 20 because it is usually at least half of them. The way you're going to teach it, the way you think you're supposed to teach it, the way they're telling you to teach it is going to lay on deaf ears. One, because of No Child Left Behind, most of the kids are not on grade level. So everything you're saying is a foreign language and they don't even know what the hell you're talking about because they didn't learn it last year. They didn't learn it and they got promoted because of No Child Left Behind. So now all those kids, which on average is about half the classroom, you now have to find some time to teach those kids the stuff they were supposed to learn last year in the grade before, and also then teach them what you're teaching everybody else right now because they're about to take a test on it in a couple weeks. Unrealistic. Completely ridiculous. In no world is a doctor required to treat 30 patients in their office at one time and everybody has a different illness. But in education, a teacher is expected to teach 30 different kids 30 different ways every single day. And they are at fault if all 30 kids don't learn. They don't even have enough time to teach everybody at their level. Everybody's not even on grade level. And if these kids have learning disabilities, they now have additional accommodations they have to give in addition to everything else the kid has to do. So now everybody has individual needs. So I'm saying no to inclusion because the kids who learn a specific way should be in that class learning that way. And that way the teacher can teach everybody who learns another kind of way or can learn a multitude of ways. Those, should there be times those kids come together? Absolutely. I think they should play together. They should have lunch together. I don't think they're like not as good as the other kids or not good enough. But if they're not going to learn in this general population, general education is what we call it. If they're not going to learn in this general classroom, why the hell would you put them in there? Take them out and put them where they can learn. If y'all really, really want what's best for kids, you would put the kids in an environment in which they can learn. Kids are, first of all, kids cannot learn in an environment of 30 plus kids because it's too much going on. Kids do learn, but those kids are usually above. They're above average in the way they learn. The average person would be distracted. It's too many kids in here. It's too much going on. And the teacher has to go from kid to kid, do small group, keep the class in order, manage behaviors. But if you have kids, which I experienced personally, if you have a kid hiding in the coat closet, the backpack closet, kids crawling on the floor, kids on the computer upside down, somebody's trying to get on another website, there's only so many rules. And I had excellent classroom management. I didn't have liabilities like incidents in my room. My kids were well behaved, but they were still kids and they acted like kids. So it took a lot out of me, which I was personally good at, of running a strict program and tight systems and routines for my class to run a certain way. But every teacher does not have that capacity to do so or the skills to do so. And again, I'm a licensed therapist, so I understand behavior different than the average person. So I know how to do certain things a certain way to my benefit. But that's me. And everybody is not a licensed therapist. Most people are not, right? And so again, it is unrealistic. There are kids who are not on grade level. There's kids who are behind most. I taught fourth grade. There was kids who were still on the first grade level in fourth grade. So I need to teach them what they should have learned in first grade, second grade, third grade, and fourth grade. And they're only going to be tested on the fourth grade stuff. But while I'm teaching them what they should have learned in first grade, because until they learn this stuff, they're not going to learn my stuff. So say that I am teaching them and now they've mastered their first grade stuff. And now we're on second grade stuff, but we're still in the fourth grade. I'm getting in trouble because I'm not teaching the fourth grade stuff. I'm getting written up and fussed at and pulled in meetings because I'm not teaching what they told me to teach. But the kids that are over here in second grade level cannot learn this stuff because they go together real bad. So I'm in trouble. I'm in limbo. I'm stressed out. I'm pissed off. And this kid might be feeling some type of way too because they don't know what the hell going on because they did not learn this. But guess what? Now that they've mastered first grade and they're on to second grade, even though they're in the fourth grade, right? The test they're going to take is going to be on fourth grade. So when they take this test and fail it, because they are, they're going to be mad at me and saying, why don't they know it? Well, because they're on second grade level. That's why. You put them in fourth grade knowing they did not pass any of these grade levels. You put them in fourth grade and now I'm the problem, right? And so even though this kid is improving, right, because now I'm going to move them to maybe third grade by the end of the year, I don't get any credit for catching them up 3 school years. No, they're still going to be mad that they're failing the fourth grade test. And guess what? They're still going to promote them to the fifth grade. But thanks to me, they might be caught up a few. This is stressing me out talking about. I'm having flashbacks because this is all based on real stories. I have stories for days and you're going to hear them. I'm here to tell my story. But No Child Left Behind has set everybody up for failure and inclusion. Put kids where they can learn best. If the goal is the best interest of children, put them in an environment in which they can learn based on their specific needs. That's all the other classrooms were doing before inclusion, is kids were in classes that they would learn best in. Now they put all the kids in the same class and tell teachers to figure it out. It's a scam. Teachers also don't get overtime. So, what's our joy? Teachers do not get overtime. They're salaried employees. They don't even if they get comp time, which they're doing away with, it's half of what they make versus double or time and a half where it is in a average job. So here's the thing. Contract time might be a good 8 hours, 9, depending on the school district, a day. So maybe your contract hours are 8 to 4. Cool. Doesn't sound bad. But the amount of responsibilities you have, if you get there right at 8, one, they're going to be like, why'd you just get here? Because we wanted you to do stuff before 8 a.m. They want you to do hall duty, breakfast duty. They want you to get your kids out of the cafeteria at 7:30, even though school doesn't start till 8. So you have to be at school about 30 minutes to an hour. I didn't do that, but that's what the expectation is. So now you're just working for free. And let's not forget that all the things they ask you to do, if you're teaching from 8 to 4, when are you going to do your paperwork, your notes, call parents, prepare for the next day, clean your classroom, change your boards? All those things needed to be done. You're going to either have to come in earlier or stay late. So your 8 hour day easily went to 10 hours because you came an hour earlier and you stay an hour late. Because guess what? When school gets out and the kids leave, you don't immediately get to go wrap up your day and finish everything. You still got to grade papers and all this other stuff. You probably have to walk them to the front of the school, walk them to where the bus riders go, walk them to the where car riders go. Then they may have you doing after school duty where you have to stay in the cafeteria until it's empty, or you stay on the bus ramp until it's empty. So now you're outside for 30, 45 minutes. So now it's 4:45. And now you go back to your classroom and now you're grading papers, planning your assignments, planning for the next day. So now you're there for another hour. So now it's 11 hours you've been at school all day. You're not working 40 hours as a teacher. At some point, I transitioned into that because I bucked the system, and that's just me and my personality, and it worked for me. I figured out ways to be more efficient. I didn't take papers home. I didn't come early and I didn't stay late because I don't get paid to. Now, your contract does say other duties as assigned, but I figured out how to make it work for me. If it didn't fit from 8 to 4, you must didn't want me to do it, because if I can't do it between 8 and 4, you've given me too much stuff to do. And teachers, they keep giving us more stuff to do, or y'all now, more stuff to do, because every time you say this is too much, we all figure it out. And this is why most millionaires are teachers, because we can do a whole lot with a little time with a bunch of chaos. Okay. And so I would say y'all need to protest. Stop figuring out how to get everything done. Stop staying late. Stop taking stuff home. One, they only gonna fire you if you touch a student most of the time. They're cracking down on that in here in Houston. But in general, as long as you find ways to accommodate their expectations, they'll continue to add them on, because you keep saying it's too much work, but you keep getting it all done. That's my opinion as someone who did buck the system when she was there. So you don't get overtime. You don't even get a thank you. And then they still probably want you to stay after school and do tutorials. They want you to come in on Saturday, and then you got to stay after school for open house and parent night and literacy night. And you do not get paid for staying for those things. That may vary from district to district or state to state, but on average, you're working for free. So teachers probably clock in about 60 hours a week on average, and you only getting paid for about 30, even though it's supposed to be 40. It's not real. It's not fair. Next, scheduling. I kind of just hit on scheduling, but the thing is, people are like, oh, y'all get paid to not work. Imagine, picture this. Say you accept a job and they say they offer you a job for 75,000 a year. Most people don't make that, but just go with me here. You say, oh, that's decent. I can take that. I'll live comfortably with that. But then they tell you, well, because you only work 8 months a year, 9 months a year, 10 on average, you go to work 10 months a year. Instead of giving you your full check, we're going to take half of it to pay you over the summer and the days you don't come to work. So that means every time you get paid, you're not even getting your full check. So when teachers get paid over holidays in the summer, it's the rest of the money owed to them. They're not getting paid to not work. They never got the full 75,000. They only got 50 because they withheld the rest of it to pay them over the summer, to set this scam up so teachers will feel like, oh, I get paid, summer's off. You're getting the rest of your money. You didn't get all of it when you were working. And then guess what? Because of that, because you didn't make enough, you only made a little bit throughout the year. You only got 50 of your 75. Now you work in summer school or getting a part-time job. A lot of teachers have multiple jobs. This is why. They make good money on paper, but they're not getting all their money up front. They're taking money out for taxes, Social Security, everything else, and escrow, which is to pay you for the days you don't go to school. So yeah, you're off, but when you're off, you need to go work to make more money because you don't get paid enough because you're not getting your full check. And then once you try to do all these other things, if you do get comp time, if you do tutorials and Saturday school, now you're working 5 days a week like everybody else year round. A lot of contracts now for teachers and staff, for you to make a livable income or for it to make sense, teachers end up working summer school. So now they're working 11 months. And a lot of other positions, you end up working 12 months. So the whole idea of summers off, weekends off, holidays off is only relatively true to the school, district, and state you work in. But do your research to see if the numbers actually make sense. I'm a single mom, so I did work in the schools because it worked for my son's schedule for me to pick him up and take him to school every day and things like that. I did what I have to do, what I had to do, like a lot of other parents do, but it was not the greatest. And I had side hustles. I worked in the hospitals because I am an LPC. I still use my license to have other means of income outside of working in the schools. So yeah, you pretty much use your free time to make extra money. Not everybody. Now, if you're married or you come from a well-off family, you live at home, there's always an exception to the rule. I'm speaking in general on just based on how this works. Last things, I won't say too much, but politics. I will say by the time I left, and I left teaching in 2018, I left the school system in 2022. Yeah, I left the school system in 2022. And I started teaching in 2013. So I did about almost 10 years. I did about 9.5 years. When I left, of all the expectations a teacher was required to do, based on order of importance for what you had to submit to the school or the district for them to get their hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, teaching was the last thing. Like there was expectations for teaching, but there were so many other things that was not in students' best interest that you were required to do as part of your job and was mandatory that you don't even have the energy to teach after you do all these things because you have to do data binders and you have to do all these meetings. You're doing professional develops. There's so much stuff a teacher has to do, and it's all red tape. And then they wonder why kids not learning because I don't have time to teach them. These kids have to do all these practice tests, real tests, fake tests, grade the test, go over the test, tutorials for tests, tutoring for tests. When were we supposed to teach them this? And it's all for stuff at the top. It's all things they're doing at the top for them to get paid because the people at the bottom don't see that money. You might get a stipend here or there. There's stipends for you to do extra duties, and they could be $800 for the full school year. Mind you, that extra job or duty you've now picked up that's going to give you $800 over the course of the school year is something that can take you 20 hours a week to do with fidelity or even 10 hours a week. So by the time you've gotten that $800, it can come out to less than $10 an hour for how much time you spent doing that duty. But they will say stipends for this, stipends for that to get people to sign up because people are just like, oh, more money. I'm already at work, but you're there longer, going back to scheduling. And now all of this is just paperwork because you do all this paperwork, all this documentation, you turn it in, all these things only for to submit it and things to look like the school is amazing on paper. But there's little to no implementation for this stuff. And there's no rollout. And so all this stuff the teachers are now required to do for paperwork to look a certain way doesn't benefit children. Because realistically, all the stuff they're asking the teachers to do, is not actually feasible to do for the children to benefit. So I was a person often in those meetings saying, what does this have to do with kids? How do kids benefit? Why are we talking about this? I was that person. It got me nowhere. So if you're a person that wants to book the system to change the system, good luck and power to you. But it just, I felt better getting stuff off my chest, but I didn't change anything. And that's why I left because the system is corrupt like a lot of other systems here in America.